Hold on, I'm not done.
I
And now,
don't
but
think
you're
it's an invasion of civil liberties.
unwilling to make that same. You're unwilling to hold logically consistent to place it to a place where you've acknowledged that there are more assaults happening, that there are co-ed college dormitories, so there's more chance of getting assault, and that there are a higher rate of assault. So it just seems like you're being logically inconsistent here.
Well, I'm not being logically inconsistent. I think I'd want to know a little bit more, but I would be fine with the principle
I'm not
of
asking
segregating
if you would
dorm
be
rooms.
fine. I'm asking, do you think it should happen? I'm fine with somebody eating chocolate cake for breakfast 100 times a day, like 100 days in a row. Do I think they should? Probably not. So there's a difference, and I've been very specific about the question I've asked you, and you are doing the lawyer thing of trying to avoid it right now. If you are a lawyer, I'm asking you a specific question. Do you think it should be legislated? Not it's okay if they do. Do you,
Maybe.
Caleb, think they should? And when I asked you, you said, I don't know, I don't have enough information.
Yeah.
You said the information you needed were the rates, but you don't need those rates when it comes to bathrooms. You only need those rates in this thing, even though this thing you've acknowledged has more rape and higher rates of assault than a bathroom does. I think that's an embarrassing thing.
I said that the college campus itself certainly has more rapes. The dorms probably have rapes, probably stuff off campus too. But
do you think college dormitories that more rape happens in college dormitories than in bathrooms?
No. Do I think there's more rapes in dormitories? Yes.
Okay, so then what is the issue here? Why can't you hold firm on your position? You're very firm on your position that you think bathrooms should be legislated this way. And all the same rules apply, all the same things apply. So it just seems like you can't be logically consistent in that. So, but it's been 20 minutes, so I'm going to move on to the next person.
I'd be logical.
See ya. Should have been logically consistent from the start, dog. Don't tell me we should do it in one instance, but we shouldn't do it in the other, and you can't give me a clear reason why 1/2. I don't know who paid to boot him before the stream cut off. So my apologies. I don't know why stream cut out. That was weird. Oh, that was you, Vidya? Okay. Thank you so much. Sorry that the stream cut out. I waited to get it back up because I wanted you to be able to see that I was booting for you. I wish I could get better internet. I physically can't. I have one ISP in my area that provides internet even remotely good enough to. The only thing I could do is maybe see what AT&T's speeds are and be like, hook up fully AT&T and give me like 30 days to see how it works. And if it doesn't work, I'm leaving. Verizon, the fuck you mean I have a past due balance? I paid the entire fucking bill, you fuckface. Fuck is you talking about? Or are you just like not up to date? I bet you're just not up to date. Yeah, you're not up to date, fucking weirdo. I was like, what do you mean I have a past due balance? I pay that shit automatically. Okay, that's what I thought. Oh boy. All right, we're going to take the next call. I'm going to bring up caller number 29. So caller number 23. Caller number 23. Bringing them up. Hello, are you here to debate? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, what's up? You here to debate?
More like discuss.
Okay. What's your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Arthur, 31, EM.
Oh, somebody was just talking about you in chat earlier, Arthur. They said that Arthurs were leftists. Age 31. You said pronouns are he, him. What topic on the board did you want to talk about, Arthur?
They said all Arthurs are leftists.
No, it was a inside joke for chat. What topic did you want to talk about?
Wanted to talk about your stance on trans women or women and vice versa.
Okay, what about it?
I wanted you to go into that a little bit about how you feel about that. Why?
I mean, yeah, I think that trans women would fit into these sociological categories that we've assigned for women. That's kind of it. That's why I think they're women. They fit into those categories.
With the disagreements that you get lately, I think most of them lean towards the biological sense, though, and sometimes I hear you arguing against that. So does it stay sociologically, or does it venture off into it being okay to be biologically considered a female or a male?
Well, I'm not saying anything about whether you're considered a male or female. Like, that's not a part of my argument.
So your argument is strictly basically on it being socially, man or woman.
Yes, gender identity is an internal sense of self that aligns with social categories. So because of that, I don't really argue. I don't make my argument from the biological standard. I will counter argue from the biological standard. So like if somebody has a claim of like biological essentialism, I'll tackle like those claims, but I don't see the need to. I think it's very clear that gender is a social thing, and so I argue from those socially constructed roles.
I've watched many debates on this, and a lot of people seem to bring up the idea that race is also a social thing. Would you agree with that?
Yes, race is a social construction, yeah.
So would they be considered the same to you? No. Being considered a man and also being considered a black man when a person is obviously not?
No, not all social constructions are created the same. So they are both social constructions, sure, but the way they're categorized is completely different. Like money is also a social construction, but I would never say that like money and gender are the same thing, Race is like
I do agree with that, actually.
Yeah, the way I always explain it is race is an external classification placed upon you by a governing body or legal system or larger social society like as a whole, whereas gender is an internal classification that you place on yourself. Right? Like I don't know what your race is.
Classifications are necessary in 2025.
I don't. It's not that I feel like they're necessary. I just think they're inevitable. Our brains are literally just designed to classify. Like it's our brains are classifying and structuring information like every second of every day. So I whether it's necessary or not, I don't know. I'm not going to make an is-ought claim about that. I just know that it does happen. It is. I'm not making an ought claim. I'm just making an is claim. It is the case that our brains consistently categorize. And if we got rid of race and gender, they'd probably just categorize into something else. One of my favorite ways to think about it is, do you remember? Did you ever watch Fairly Odd Parents? Probably. Well, you're 31, so you're around the same age as me. So we would have both been kids when it came out. Yeah. But you remember that episode of Fairly Odd Parents where everyone turned into gray blobs? And like all categories went away, but they still found a way to categorize as like, well, I'm the grayest of the gray and I'm the blobbiest of the blob. I do think that like that will always happen. We will always find some level of categorization.
I guess I guess where I can go with this, I honestly didn't expect you to answer and with those. So I guess, you know, where I can go with this now is like, where do we gap that at, you know, for children? Because although, you know, and with sex being involved in it all, where, because I see one of your topics is also like, you
Oop, Arthur, you still there?
know, with STDs on the incline.
Oh, sorry,
Like,
you cut out. You cut
where
out
would
for a
you
second
think
there. Could
that
you just
it
go
would be?
back like 10 seconds and repeat what you said? Your mic cut out.
So like, I didn't expect you to answer in such a way, and I'm glad we're on the same page there. So I guess where I can go next with it is where you would say that we can draw a line at, or if we can draw a line at, or where should we with children and this whole, I would say, you know, it's the topic. We'll call it a topic
What do you mean, like how we should
of
be
being
teaching
trans
children
and
these things?
gender identity, trans. Like, where can we say, okay, this child might be trans, or where can we say that this
Oh,
child
okay.
might have gender dissociation? And
I don't think it's up to us to say whether a child does or does not. I think what happens is we let the child guide us into a conclusion. So one of the things I always say is like, imagine you have like a 4-year-old kid, and that 4-year-old kid comes up to you and goes, "Dad," and you have a 4-year-old little girl, and she goes, "Dad, I hate dresses. I hate them. I don't like when I wear a dress. I don't like when my hair is done up. I don't like any of these things." Now, I would never immediately go, "Well, this kid must be trans," right? I would go, "Okay, well, we won't make you wear dresses, right? You don't like them. Don't wear them." Same if I have a kid who's like a 4-year-old little boy and he comes up and he says, "Dad, I like dresses. When I wear dresses, it makes me feel good." I'm like, "Okay, well, you can wear a dress." Now, if they come back to me later and they like they've done this and they're like, "Hey, Dad, I like," let's say that it's now 3 years later. They're like 7 years old and they go, "Hey, Dad, I don't like when you call me boy. Just it feels bad. Like when you say I'm a boy, it feels bad to me. I feel like I'm not a boy." I go, "Okay, I won't call you a boy. We'll explore these sides of you, right? I don't have to label the kid as anything. Now, it might be the case that the kid is trans. It might be the case that the kid's a trans girl. They might be trans non-binary. They might be gender non-conforming. Who knows? I don't think it's appropriate to label the kid. I think we let the kid explore who they are, and we let that guide it. If the kid says, after learning about what trans is, they go, "Hey, this sounds like me." I'm like, "Okay, cool. If you're telling me you're trans, then you're trans." Right? If you're not telling me you're trans, then maybe it's not even that the kid thinks they're a girl. Maybe they just like drag. Like, right? There could be a litany of things happening. So I think we need to let kids guide us in telling us who they are. And I think this about like all aspects of life when it comes to like kids. Like, don't try to force your kids to be something. Let them guide you. And if you need to get them diagnosed with something, then that's a little bit different. Then you're going to have somebody diagnosing them with gender dysphoria, which has like diagnostic criteria. So that's going to be a little different than like just diagnosing somebody that they're trans or something like that.
now I'll respond in this way because half of that I agree with and half of that I can kind of disagree with. And the reason why I'm saying that is because growing up, my mother, she always tried to get me and my brother involved with as much things as possible. So we were in Boy Scouts, we were in soccer, we were in wrestling, we played it all, and we'd done it all growing up. She forced us on the roller coasters. She forced us on the swings. You know, we didn't say we didn't like it. We had to do it first. So, and then once we started something, she made us finish that. So if we said we wanted to do something, but then we decided that we didn't like it, she would make us finish it. And, you know, part of that was because she had already paid for it and whatnot. But the other part of it was just to make damn sure that we knew what we were doing. And, I feel like once you get to a certain point, especially with like reproductive health and whatnot, you can't really turn back, you know, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't have a lot of experience in that area to like, or a lot of knowledge in that area to speak on it. But it's dangerous when they get to like 13, 14, 15 years old, because it's so impactful on basically the most important part of their life, which is when they're becoming an adult. And now, as a father, my daughter is 3, and it's tempting to like explore those areas with her, and really see and want to find out, you know, if things like that are necessary, you know, or when they're necessary, you know. That's also a whole nother discussion.
I guess I'm just confused on what I'm just confused on what your like contention. Like I guess I'm just confused on what the point you're making is. Like, are you saying that you're like if your kid?
Well, I'm not arguing.
If you're just real quick, are you saying if your kid like came to you and said this, you would force them into a different? Like, if your kid came to you and said, "Hey, I don't like when you call me girl. I don't like that. I don't feel like a girl." Would you force them? Would you say, "Well, it doesn't matter. I'm calling you that anyway"?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that we have to explore that. You know what I mean? Like you said, there's things that, you know, all right, well, we can explore that side of you. My conviction is that, you know, if this is what it is, and this is what it's got to be. And at that point, do we explore that at like 13? Do we explore that at 17? Do we explore that at 8? Do we, you know, when you say you think it's like when the child says, but I mean, my daughter wants to be a kitty cat at 3 years old. So, I mean,
but
I know she's not serious about it, but
there's a difference in that than like their gender, right? Because like their gender is something that we've seen is fluid amongst people, whereas cats is a whole nother species. Like, here's an example. My 3-year-old loves to play cat. Like, it is one of her favorite games. She likes to pretend to be a cat. She doesn't actually think she's a cat. It's a game she plays. So we say, hey, we can play cat for like 15 minutes today, right? You're not going to have a kid come up to you and go, I legitimately feel like I am a cat. That doesn't really happen.
Okay.
It gets into a larger conversation about like human qualia and stuff like that, but I just don't feel like we need to go into that like as much.
No, I guess what I'm trying to get out of it is like, most of the things I'm a very outdoorsy person. So you would say like the whole male thing is like, you know, I'm hands-on. I like working with tools, and she does a lot of things that you would consider to be manly. And then she has those sides where she wants to be a kitty cat or dress up in a dress, and that comes she spends most of her time with me, so that comes obviously very natural to her as a girl, as a little girl. And I'm not arguing that some people might not feel like that, and this is why I wanted to have more or less a discussion about it rather than a debate, because it's not about what you and I think. It's about what because I don't think do you identify as trans at all, or
no?
Yeah, so I mean, and that's why it was more or less of a discussion, because you have these debates a whole lot. So, and I've been listening to you a lot lately, so it was more or less to come up here and have a discussion about what you thought about the subject and get more into it rather than you arguing with some conservative ideology. And I appreciate it. I think that's all I needed to discuss about.
Yeah, like I said, I just when I look at this on its face, when I look at all was together, I don't see any like societal issue with this or anything like that. So I think let people be people, let trans people be trans people, let trans kids be trans kids, and government should just leave them alone. You know?
I agree. Are you a believer in the social contract?
To an extent.
That whole philosophy? I believe it's forced upon us in a way that we have to accept certain things of people in order to be civil. And a lot of people might not agree with that. And that's where a lot of conflict does arise. But we live in a society, you know, so you know what I mean? If somebody wants to be, you got to let them be, or else what are you going to do, war with them? It doesn't make sense. So, you know, but it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for calling in and chatting.
All right, peace.
Okay. All right. I'm going to close the call-in lines. We've had enough. There have been enough calls, so call-in lines are going to be closed for the remainder of the show. I'm just checking on something real quick. Real quick. What time is it? Oh, shit. Am I going to go to that thing tonight? There's a convention. It's Fanboy Expo is happening in Orlando. And part of me wants to go to see if I can get any more desk or bookshelf things to line up my stuff. But I'm just like, I kind of don't want to drive all the way there. You know? I should debate with a weed pillow next to me. True talk. Or do I want to start setting up my new computer setup? Oh, does Best Buy sell USB extenders? That's a good question. I need 1, 2. Alright, if that one's 3. I don't need one for that. That can go over there. So I need 1, 2 USB extenders. Possibly 3 with that. Yeah, they do. Oh, a 12-footer. Oh, shit. And I need 2. Okay, I need 2 USB. I should write a list. I should write me a damn list. Okay, I need. Wait, let me open up a notes app. We'll take one more. We'll take a couple more callers probably. I need 2 USB extenders. I need 2 display cords. 2 R1. 2 HDMI cords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 power extenders. And I think I'll be able to set up my set the way I want. I think those things will do it. God, this chair is so comfortable. All right, let's bring in the next person. We're going to bring in caller number... I don't know this caller's number. I think 26. Well, let's find out. Hello, are you here to debate? Hello?
Hello?
Yep, hello, you here to debate?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Can
Hello?
I get your... Yeah, I can hear you. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Kirk, 27, he, him.
Kirk, 27, he, him. And what topic on the board did you want to talk about today?
Number 6.
Okay, what about it?
Well, actually, really, because I told the person on the line for the screener, kind of the difference between the reaction with political violence going on the left and how there have been several instances of the mainstream media quick to point the finger on one side of the aisle and not the other side. So just kind of going over like examples of political violence here recently within the past, well, I would say probably 10 years. Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, I would say that political violence has been widely adopted by the right and supported by the right, but the right claims to not like it. Meanwhile, they consistently engage in it and glorify it.
Okay. Do you have examples?
Yeah, you just had a Fox News host the other day say that we should euthanize homeless people. You had another one saying we should bomb the UN. Like, these are pretty clear examples of promoting violence. I think January 6th is one of the largest examples of them committing political violence. But there's also other ones, like the one dude that had like the Democratic hit list. The guy who beat Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer is a pretty staunch example. I think that when we look at the reaction...
That guy was not right affiliated?
He wasn't left affiliated.
Or he wasn't right affiliated?
Okay, let me double check.
We can just scrub that one.
Let me double check. Well, according to reports, he expressed far-right beliefs and embraced conspiracy theories such as QAnon, false claims about the 2020 election, and etc. So, I mean, that's pretty right, you know?
He was a lifelong San Francisco Democrat.
He had no political affiliation except for in 2024 where he was listed as part of the Green Party. He wasn't affiliated to either party, but he was far right. He was far right.
Okay, so neither left nor right.
Far right.
So if he's not tied to either party, how does that make him far right?
I'm sorry. You know that the parties are not all that encompasses the right and the left, right? Like, I'm not a Democrat, but I'm a leftist.
No, it's a spectrum.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so he doesn't have to be affiliated with a party to be a member of the right.
Okay.
You recognize that, right? You don't have to be affiliated to a party to be a member of the right or the left.
No, you just have to have the same political ideologies of one side or the other, whether that be farther than the middle.
He believed in far right
on
politics.
either direction.
He believed in far right politics.
Okay, I don't see any evidence that says that he other than the QAnon, which can be disputed
Pepe
as
had a history of promoting
just
conspiracy theories online and had shared misinformation about COVID and the January 6th insurrection, as well as false claims that the 2020 election had been stolen from Donald Trump. He literally believed Trump had the election stolen from him. He was a MAGA. He believed in Trump. What do you mean?
Okay, well, my source says that he had no ties, but I could have the wrong source.
What is your source?
New York Times.
Okay, can you tell me the name of the article?
Yeah, hold on. Where the fuck is this link? It was posted on X. Trying to find it. Pelosi's husband is gravely attacked by intruder with hammer. New York Times article. God damn it. Stop clicking on random shit.
Pelosi's husband is gravely injured in hammer attack by an intruder. That one?
I believe so, yeah.
From 2022?
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, yeah, I would just say, so I'm looking at the same article, and it doesn't say he doesn't have a political affiliation, but this was like one of the first articles that came out. So I would just say it was before we knew, right? Because then later we found out what his political ideology was.
Right. Well, because he had the anti-Semitic after they had done like the scrub on his like search and just like search history and online, I guess, footprint.
Well, yeah, and like I said, he had been engaged in far-right conspiracy theories. He was like heavily into QAnon. He believed Trump had the election stolen from him. He believed COVID conspiracies. Like he bought into the sauce. He had taken a sip from the fountain of conspiracy. So I'm still absolutely going to count the Pelosi attack as far-right political violence.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just count that. Because I have a list of examples that I have from the left, or those that I think are from the left. So I will take that one out of my list.
Okay.
Okay, here's a recent one. What about the attempted car bombing at the Charlie Kirk Memorial on September 14th?
I don't know. I don't know enough about that to talk about it. Like, just happened.
True. It was the two Pakistani men who were arrested for plotting to detonate a car bomb.
I don't know anything.
They were misregistered in the police database as white men.
Okay, I don't know anything about that yet. Like, we're still learning about that one. You're talking about the one you're saying at the Charlie Kirk Memorial?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that one to make a.
It was I believe it was the Fox News van they tried to car bomb.
I don't know enough about that to make any claims one way or another about that. I don't even show that having happened. Hold on. You said they targeted a Fox News van?
I believe it was a Fox News van. I could be wrong on that one, but that's what I'm misremembering.
Do you have an article for that?
Yeah, hold on one sec.
Oh, this from the 14th?
Yeah, from the 14th.
I don't show that this has anything to do with Charlie Kirk.
The device is located under.
As of what I'm showing here, investigators are still determining a motive. I can see if there's been an update, but I'm showing that no motive has been determined.
For the Adib Nasir and Adil Justice Adib Nasir and Magna, Utah.
Yeah, like I
the
said,
two men face multiple charges, including threatening terrorism, possessing weapons of mass destruction.
Yes, I'm not showing any motive yet. No, as of the latest reports, no clear.
So we can't describe motive yet.
Yeah, it says as of most recent reporting, no motive has yet been determined. So why would I count this as a left or right thing? I wouldn't count this as either.
Okay. Okay. Well, I count it as a left one, just basically just based off of the rhetoric.
What rhetoric?
Because of the ongoing rhetoric, the rhetoric from.
If we don't know why they did it, why would we count this as a what? We don't know if these people were conservative, liberal, progressive, far right, far left. We don't know what their motive was. So we couldn't count this as anything. That would be like the most bad faith thing to do.
Right. It would be, but there's several instances of the mainstream media prematurely attributing motives to right-wing violence. And so I'm just stating that basically you can't ascribe motive.
Wait, so do you believe we should be ascribing motive to motiveless or to crimes we don't yet know the motive of? Do you think we should be doing that?
I'm not saying we should. No, I don't. No, I don't think we should. I'm just saying that is what happens.
Well, you're engaging in hypocrisy right now.
I just am saying that's what happens.
But that's not what happened. The mainstream media didn't ascribe a motive to this. They gave no motive. They literally said that there is no report of a motive yet.
No. I'm saying that they won't report motive yet when it comes to somebody that you can clearly tell is, left-leaning
tell based
on the left side.
Wait, how
whether that's far left.
I'm sorry. How can you tell that these two men were far left? If they were religious fundamentalists, that's a far right mindset. Religious fundamentalism is conservative in nature. It's not liberal.
No, not free. Oh, okay. What about Free Palestine?
We don't know if these men were supportive of Palestine. Wait, all you're doing right now is you're saying they were brown men who are Muslim, so they must be in support of Palestine. Like, what? This is stupid. You know this is stupid. That's so dumb. We don't know what their motive is. They don't know yet. Authorities have not yet determined a motive. So why are we going to assume a motive?
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they were already stated that they were for free Palestine?
As of this moment
Themselves?
in time, no motive has been determined for why these people did what they did. None whatsoever. No, the suspects haven't explained why they did it, and law enforcement hasn't explained why they did it. Like, why are we engaging in bad faith arguments at this point?
I'm just kind of following what I guess everybody else does.
Well, no, because everybody else did not give a motive for this. And if we want to talk about who came up with motive first, the right is who decided the motive of the Kirk shooter before they knew anything. The right just assumed that the Kirk shooter was some far left guy, right? The left didn't come out and say who they thought the Kirk shooter was. The right is the ones who did that.
Yeah, they did. They said he was a right winger.
Who?
And that's why people got.
The left said he was a right. No, the left said he was a right winger
on MSNBC.
The left said he was like a groiper based on the evidence that came out about him, like his parents all saying he was, his family saying he was raised conservative, him engaging with like groiper memes, shit like that. The right decided he was left before they knew anything about him. They just said, "Oh, it's got to be trans Tifa." That's all that. That's exactly what happened.
I thought it was pretty clear, like moments after, like when they had gotten the report from his mother. I believe it was his mother.
What? We didn't know who he was for a day and a half. What do you mean?
Father turned him in.
We didn't know what he was for a day and a half. They didn't even show his identity for a day and a half. So it was all speculation until they made that press conference. Everything was speculation. So the right saying it was definitely the left person who did it was purely speculative, whether they were right or wrong. It was speculative. They're doing the thing you said you do not like. So you're engaging in hypocrisy. You're saying it's okay when we do it. It's not okay when the left does it. That's being hypocritical, which is directly proving my point about number 6.
Yeah, I understand. But fucking everybody's being fucking hypocritical at this point. Like, what the fuck is the point?
Yeah, can you show me a predominant person on the left who immediately said it was the right? Because what most of the people on the left did is they didn't say who it might have been. They just said political violence is bad. We need to stop this. Whereas like every prominent figure on the right said, look at what the left is doing. We need to start a war with the left. So can you show me an example of like a left-leaning person saying that like prior to knowing any knowledge about the shooter, it must have been a right-wing nuthead?
I mean, other than proponents on like TikTok, off of the fucking TikTok videos and shit that I saw the next day after the 10th, which would have been the 11th, then people saying shit like it was someone in his own camp. It was someone in his, it was some MAGA person.
So then the answer is
groper,
no.
like the conspiraccy that it was a groper.
It's not. We're not basing his groiperness on the groiper claims didn't show up until after after we found out the bullet, what was on the bullet casings. That's when the groiper accusation started showing up, because they were literally groiper
thing
memes.
was the Slavic squat meme, right? And that's how that kind of started. And then like a Spotify playlist that kind of drew the two together, like him having that Pepe meme. And then they were like, that's a groiper meme, so that must mean he's a groiper.
A lot of groipers do use the Pepe. But are you noticing that like the things that you're saying the left is making their assumptions on are based on like whether they're flimsy or not, are based on some level of them seeing something they think is evidence, whereas the right just claimed it was trans Tifa immediately with no evidence?
Okay, the evidence that they had, which was before we even knew who did it, was the gun and the bullet casings, right?
No, none of the bullet casings came out until we knew who he was. We had no idea what the bullet casings said. That was not public information. That wasn't even, none of that was released until Kash Patel showed up with the FBI on, what was it, the 12th they made the press conference? So why were MAGA people?
No, it was before the press conference. No,
it wasn't. No, it was not.
There was a leaked document.
No, it was not.
There was a leaked document.
No, there was a leaked document that said there was trans stuff on the bullet because the bullet casing had the letters TRN on it, which was the manufacturer of the bullet. There wasn't anything leaked about the actual engravings in the bullet. That did not happen.
Okay, what about early? Okay, there was a CNN panel. I remember there was a CNN panel that happened, I think it was like the 10th through the 12th, saying that the hosts basically cited that it might have been someone on the right.
Who?
And then they're trying to frame the whole both sides thing and said that they were MAGA hat sightings near the venue, and so it must have been someone on the right.
Prior to any information coming out, it might have been something on the right is an accurate statement. The wrong statement is it was definitely the left, and we have to start a war with the left. This is what I'm talking about. When we talk about hypocrisy, when gun violence happens, even after Trump was shot, every prominent figure on the left condemns the violence and says it needs to stop. You know who doesn't do that? Anybody on the right. No prominent right-leaning figure, politician, newscaster, president, none of them do this. When Trump got shot, Biden's first response was, "This is terrible. I hope Trump is okay. Gun violence needs to end." That was his response. What has Trump said during all of this? We need to start a war with the left. That's been his biggest thing since any of this happened. Oh, and he keeps wanting to talk about his ballroom. There is like this idea that we can both sides. This is completely wrong. It is entirely, the hypocrisy is entirely coming from the right. Entirely. I don't even like political Democrats, but they've been pretty consistent in their messaging in that gun violence needs to end. We don't like that Kirk was shot.
Okay, so then it's just the fringe far left that basically are celebrating the fact that, he was shot, he died.
Yeah, I don't care if people are celebrating it. That doesn't mean anything. So what if people online
I do. I care.
Why? What? Violence is celebrated by the right constantly.
Okay, the right as a, you do this yourself. I know you do. You categorize this entire group of people, and then when someone says the left, you distance yourself and you say,
"No, I'm specifically talking
I'm not a Democrat. I'm not that."
The establishment right, prominent figures, large-leaning political pundits, politicians, newscasters, the president, vice president, these people engage in violence glorification constantly. But when you ask me to look at those same people on the left, they're not doing that. I don't care what fringe off people say about the right either. I don't give a shit about that. But you have mainstream people on the right who engage in fucking Laura Loomer, who comes out with, "Congratulations, George Floyd is 5 years sober." Like literally making jokes about a man being dead, and you want me to fucking give a shit when people on the left make jokes about a man being dead. Hold the same weight. If you're gonna hold this, I don't give a fuck what anybody, I don't care that the right makes the jokes. I don't care that the left makes the jokes. I'm saying if you're gonna hold water, hold it consistently. It is crazy that the right never wants to hold their people accountable. You had a major political pundit on the right 2 days ago say that the United Nations should be bombed. Y'all didn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, Jesse Waters.
Yeah, none of you are sitting here saying Jesse Waters needs to be taken off the air. But like, Nancy Mace said Jimmy Kimmel should lose his job. Donald Trump said Jimmy Kimmel should lose his job. Brendan Carr, the head of the FCC, said Jimmy Kimmel should lose his job. Why is none of this the case for Jesse Waters, who said something fundamentally way fucking worse? It is hypocritical. It's constantly hypocritical. You have the right. You had, who was it? Hold on. I need to pull this video up. Do I still have this video saved? You had Eric Trump himself going, you should never You should never call a person, a political figure, a fascist. You should never say that a president is a fascist or a war criminal. Never should do that. His father says that shit constantly. His father called Biden a fascist, called him a war criminal. Verbatim. It is hypocrites. Constantly. The right is hypocrites.
Okay. What did Jesse Waters say after his co-host said, let's not do that?
I don't care what he said after. He still said it. What? So it's okay to say whatever you want as long as 2 seconds later you go like, my bad.
I mean, you said you don't care who makes the joke.
Because I'm not a hypocrite. I don't give a shit about, like, I don't think, first of all, I don't think anybody on either major side should be making jokes like that when you are that prominent. I think you have a different level of public responsibility when you're a prominent person. But if we want to talk, like, we'll go listen to what Jesse Waters said. Let's listen to the whole fucking thing. I'm sure it was,
and they could
was
have
great.
hurt
Let's
the
hear.
First lady,
Let's hear. Let's play
Trump
it right
would
now.
have fallen and it would have gotten back up, but
oh, hold on. Where did it go?
You know,
they would have blamed it on his rhetoric.
And then they sabotaged the teleprompter.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an insurrection. And what we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it. It is in New York, though, right?
Yeah,
Could be some fallout there.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe gas it.
No.
Let's not do
Don't
that.
gas it. Okay. But we need to destroy it. Maybe just, can we demolish the building?
We could turn it
Have
into-
everybody leave and then we'll demolish the building?
We could turn it into affordable housing.
Okay.
Said to
That's
gas
what
the
you do.
UN.
Affordable housing.
No, I don't like that. I like nice sky rises, Dana.
We should bomb the UN because the UN was engaged in an insurrection. By the way, Jesse Waters has never said that January 6th was an insurrection, even though it obviously was. But the UN, that's an insurrection. So for that, we should bomb. Like, major people on either part, if you're a private citizen and you say whatever the fuck you want to say, I don't care. I don't care if some Joe Schmo on Twitter says some whatever comment, because, like, it's Twitter. But prominent members of political sides who have millions of people watching them have a different level of responsibility when it comes to the public statements they make. The president has a different level of responsibility, but he gets to make jokes about bombing Chicago, and that's okay. This is why I'm saying it's hypocritical, and it's entirely coming from the right.
Okay, so Fox Corporation should suspend his contract, Jesse Waters, right?
Do you
Just in
think
the
that
same
if somebody
vein that Disney suspended Jimmy Kimmel's contract, right?
Wait, there's a difference here, right? Jesse Waters is directly calling for violence against the UN. Jimmy Kimmel didn't call for violence against anyone. All Jimmy Kimmel said was that MAGA is trying to distance themselves from the shooter to make sure that no one thinks the shooter is MAGA, which is true, and that Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about Charlie Kirk because he keeps talking about the ballroom. Those are the remarks that got him kicked off the air. This and we should bomb the UN aren't even remotely in the same vein. And ABC didn't cancel Jimmy Kimmel's contract because they didn't like what he said. They canceled it because Brendan Carr, the head of the FCC, said, if you don't punish Jimmy Kimmel, the FCC is going to come down hard on you, which is quite literally a governing body influencing a decision made against somebody's free speech. Jimmy Kimmel didn't say anything against FCC guidelines. Not a single thing. You know what is against FCC guidelines?
No.
Engaging in calls for violence,
Threatening
like
to blow up
bombing
the
the
UN.
UN. Yeah, that's against FCC guidelines.
Yes, and I'm understanding. So Waters should be, because he said they should bomb or gas the UN because of the malfunctions that happened when Trump was addressing the UN. And then he later, I guess seconds later, walked back and said, okay, we do need to destroy it. Maybe we can demolish the building, have everybody leave, and then we'll demolish the building.
So again, you think it is okay to make basically any joke you want as long as you say, hey, You know what? I was just kidding about that. I can come on. I could come online and say, "Yo, let's enslave all white people." Right? If I was like on the news, let's enslave all white people, and 3 seconds later, guys, I'm kidding. Let's not enslave all white people. Wink, wink, and then that's cool.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you, Jovan. I agree. If you're a private citizen, you can say whatever the fuck you want. If you're on the news or on a network or a TV show, whatever, then yeah, Jesse Waters should get fired or let go or whatever they would do.
Okay, then
for
yeah,
him. I agree. Like you can make whatever if you want to get on X and say
do you agree
things about white
there
people.
Is a massive amount of hypocrisy? Do you agree there's a massive amount of hypocrisy from the people on the right compared to the people on the left?
I'm not going to say in the whole quality of it, but in this one instance that we're discussing about Jesse Waters and his remarks on the UN during the Fox News show, then yeah, like Fox News Corporation, they're a private company. I believe they're a private company. I might be wrong, but it's their responsibility. And if, they want to get rid of them, then they get rid of them.
Can you point to me?
And if the Fox Corporation is predominantly...
Can you just point to me?
Sorry,
I'm not going to let go of this idea that there isn't a hypocrisy direct from the right. Can you point me to a major political figure, whether political pundit, newscaster, politician, who have you, from the left, who has engaged in a direct call for violence like the right has been?
I want to say Ocasio-Cortez, but I might be not remembering that correctly.
She said to stop gun violence.
Yeah, but hasn't she also said that it's okay to, like not okay, but that it's completely okay for people to die in regards to free Palestine, like Israelites or Jews?
No. She's never said this.
Hold on. This was fucking, I guess, a year ago or something, but
Now, I think a little bit differently. I think that any IDF soldier engaging in the genocide probably deserves what they got coming to them. But AOC has never said that.
Okay. Why do you think that?
Because I think people that do genocide deserve whatever they get for committing a genocide. It's a genocide. I thought the same thing about the Nazis. They deserved whatever they got coming to them for committing a genocide.
Okay, what about Tim Walz?
What about Tim Walz?
I swear this guy's in the news all the time.
Tim, America's uncle. What do you think Tim Walz said?
Just basically implying that he hopes that, Donald Trump dies.
Give me an actual quote.
He said something about like 86 to, what was it? 86, 47, 46? He said something like that on Twitter.
Possibly.
He was just hoping to hear news about Trump's death.
Hold on. I don't think Tim Walz ever reposted any 86, 46 or 45 or whoever, whatever. Yeah, I'm not showing any evidence that Tim Walz ever engaged in the. Plenty of people made that joke, right? I'm not showing any evidence that Tim Walz did or any major political figure on the left.
Okay, but if there were any political politician, whether it be, the governor or, someone in the House, they would repost or share any political meme advocating for, violence, or saying like, kill this person, or they deserve this in regards to anything. Would that not fall under the same purview?
No, you're being too broad. Because if fucking someone on the right showed up and said, yo, like just a hypothetical example, if somebody on the right showed up and was like, yo, kill Hitler, I would never be like, that's a bad thing to say. They're engaging in political violence. It was Hitler, right? I'm not going to fucking hold water for that. What I am going to hold water for is anything that engages in what appears to be violence directed towards innocent civilians, appears to be violence directed towards citizens, appears to be violence directed toward like a protected political class, appears to be violence towards things like this, right? If somebody on the right tells me, hey, I hate Netanyahu and the IDF deserves what the IDF gets, I'm not going to disagree with them on this and say that they're saying something bad, because it quite literally has been confirmed that Israel is committing a genocide. Like the UN literally put out an entire report about it with fucking, what was it, 6 years of data to show that they've been committing a genocide for a while now. So like, no, I'm not going to hold water for somebody condemning a genocidal state and saying like, yo, I hope Netanyahu falls off a bridge or some shit. I will have, if Joe Biden had come out after Kirk's assassination and been like, this was a great thing, I would have had a fucking issue with this. Because he's the president. He was the previous president.
Trump's words.
Go ahead.
Were Trump's words at January 6th, right? What part of that was an incite to violence?
So it's not just Trump's words at J6, it's the actions leading up to there. It's a whole, we don't have the time. I could spend 30 minutes going over the entirety of the timeline from post-election from pre-election to post-election to January 6th. We could do that. It's a mixture of his words, his actions, telling people there are insurrectionists who were arrested at the Capitol for breaking in and beating up police, who, when Trump said the phrase, Proud Boy, stand back and stand by, these people responded on Twitter with, you got it, President Trump, we're standing by. Like acknowledging that the words Trump says has them in fight mode. Now, I don't think I think it's very clear that January 6th was an insurrection. I don't think there's enough evidence to charge Trump with insurrection. I think there's plenty of evidence to charge him with election tampering because of the issue with the fake electorates. That's a different claim. I don't think there's enough evidence to actually charge him with insurrection. I think it's clearly was an insurrection, and that's different level of scrutiny than like charging someone with this, because he was very careful in the way he phrased stuff. But this wouldn't be the only time I think Trump has called for violence. Like I said, he tweeted out a picture of him dropping bombs on Chicago and told Chicago, you're going to learn why we call it the Department of War. That's a direct call of violence.
I'm looking that up for context. Sorry, hold on. Trump says Chicago will find out why it's called the Department of War. And this is before what had happened with the situation going on in Congress, right? Or not Congress, Chicago.
This was like a couple days before Kirk got shot that he did this.
Oh, so it was after. Okay.
You have a sitting president who said that who is threatening a city and state, by the way, who have complete legal action to deny wanting the National Guard in their city and state. It is hypocritical. Biden has never posted an AI picture of himself with fucking dropping bombs on Arkansas or some shit. It's never happened.
Okay, so would you say that, so you think there's enough evidence to say that what Trump did, actions leading up, and the words used, like, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. That's a direct quote, right? Was enough to incite violence or an insurrection on the Capitol on January 6th.
I think there is enough evidence to show that Donald Trump willfully engaged in an attempted plot to use his supporters to overthrow the certification of the 2020 U.S. election. Absolutely. I do not think there is enough evidence to charge him with insurrection because the standard of evidence required for that is much higher. But I fully believe he engaged in an insurrection.
Right, but right, okay.
But the burden of proof is higher when trying to charge somebody in legal court. So,
Right. Well, like the only reason I bring that up is because of the fact that there are politicians that have used this same rhetoric on the left that have said the same
and I
almost
would
verbatim
not
quotes about like fight like hell, you know.
Yes, but Donald Trump's quote did not exist in a vacuum. That quote is surrounded by a bunch of other events. Right? This is why I wouldn't take if Donald Trump, if all things had been different and the only constant had been Donald Trump said the left is doing this, we got to fight like hell. And that's all he did. I'd be like, yeah, this isn't enough for me to say he's starting an insurrection. But it's not the only thing he did. There were litanies of things, including physically trying to get the election uncertified through false electors. And then everything leading up to that, including him finding out what was happening on Capitol grounds and waiting 3 hours to tell people to leave, even though he knew they were shouting, "Hang Mike Pence." All of these things together is going to give me a different bar of evidence for my personal self. Because, like I said, you can't just have something in a vacuum here. When I look at something like a left-wing politician going, we got to make sure we fight the Republicans, fight. You have to give me more that they did than just that to paint a picture that they are pushing for people to physically engage in violence.
Okay, do you think that when a left-wing politician says that you have to take back this country from fascists, fight the fascists, that's not an incitement of violence?
No, we should fight fascists. Yeah, no, that's not an incitement of violence. Was it incitement of violence when we said join the fight to go beat up Hitler? Was that an incitement of violence? Which Democratic politician are you talking about?
Well, how do you fight fascists?
Which Democratic politician are you talking about?
Pretty sure Pelosi said it. There's that one, I can't remember her name. It's the black lady with the raspy ass voice. I can't remember her name. Have said that like fight the fascists. Like we have to fight the fascist regime. There's people in the House that say shit like that all the time.
Yeah. So two things. One, again, in a vacuum, just saying fight isn't going to tell me enough that you're calling for violence, because fighting politically can look like many things. This is why I said if Donald Trump had only said fight like hell, I would not sit here and say he engaged in an insurrection. There is a larger contextual thing to what he said and what he did.
Well, I can say that the same thing goes for it's not in a vacuum either that politicians on the left will incite violence.
You don't even know which politician said the thing, so I don't believe you can tell me what else they did that's inside the vacuum. Can you give me what else has been done that would lead you to believe that they're calling for violence? Because again, Trump, I can argue that I can talk about him holding an event the day the election gets certified. He didn't need to hold it the day the election got certified. Could have held it any time before getting the only reason to hold it the day it gets certified is so your people will be there in presence when that certification is supposed to be taking place. I can look at Donald Trump refusing to engage in telling them to quell the violence until 3 hours post him finding out violence was happening. I can look at the fact that Donald Trump engaged in an illegal conspiracy to try to overturn the election. Now, when I combine all of these, plus Steve Bannon's admission to how they were going to do it, plus all the admissions from Giuliani about the court cases and how they actually didn't have any legal leg to stand on when they were fighting in court, and Trump knew this and still kept saying the thing was stolen. When I combine all of this, it paints a broader picture. If you want to paint that picture about a Democratic politician, fine. I don't fucking like the Democrats, so we can do that. But you have to provide me all of the things that would lead you to say, and if it's just they're saying to fight fascism, that's not enough, my G.
Oh, okay, hold on. Ilhan Omar, right, stated that we must fight fascism at every turn in the streets, in the courts, and at the ballot box, right?
I agree with her.
Tweet
fucking agree with her on that, yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to pronounce Rashida Tlaib.
Wait, you're not painting. Wait, take Ilhan Omar and paint the vacuum now. You have one of the pieces of dust that's floating around in the the vacuum. Now show me how this is an incite to violence. Back it up with more than just she said we need to fight fascism in the streets, in the courts, and anyway, like show me.
Yes, this was in regards to It was in regards to Trump's executive orders on immigration, and it had to do with the amid, I guess, the BLM riots that happened in 2020, right? She said that she meant peaceful demonstrations against systemic racism and fascist, but it's not just her. So it's not just one isolated incident. There's politicians that have been going and saying the same things about fighting fascism, which in your beliefs, or I would like to think your beliefs, I'm not going to strawman you, is that to fight fascism is with violence. You can't have fascists in your country, and you can't just replace, their policies. You have to fight fascism with violence. So when someone says fight the fascists, that's an incitement of violence. You're throwing the name around fascist, and the rhetoric people are going to pick up on is, oh, well, that person's a fascist. Okay. That person's a Nazi. That person's
Let me ask you a
racist.
question. And this might lead us into a physically, like literally fight them. Hold on, really quickly. And this might lead us into a 10-minute conversation. What is fascism?
What is fascism?
All right, let me ask you a different question. Let me ask you a different question first of all. Let me ask you a clarifying question first. Do you think actual fascism, whether you believe this administration, a previous, whatever it may be, do you think actual fascism deserves peace?
Do I think actual fascism deserves peace?
Yep.
Like peace as in like you don't go about fighting them physically, right?
Do you think you can peacefully get out of fascism? Mussolini, Hitler, do you think people could have peacefully gotten their way out of those fascist regimes?
No, I don't.
Okay, so you agree that fascism should be fought. You agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay, what is fascism?
It's a ideology that has like a dictator, a dictatorial leader. That's like big on like nationalism.
Okay, so there are 14
societal norms and stuff like that.
Yeah, there are 14 characteristics of fascism that exist. I tend to use the 14 created by Lawrence Britt. We could even do Umberto Eco or Stanley Pyle, whichever one you want to use. But they're all generally the same. Okay? So let's just really quickly, this will be a quick, I swear to God, it'll be quick. Characteristic number 1, powerful and continuing nationalism. Absolutely is a characteristic of the right, especially the Trump administration right now. They are absolutely engaged in powerful and continuing nationalism. They think that America first should be the only policy. They've gone so far as to remove aid that we sent. They don't even think we should be sending aid to other countries. This is number 1. Fascist regimes tend to make constant use of patriotic mottos, slogans, symbols, songs, and other. Oh my God! Sorry, hold on. Let me move it over here. So I can see all of it. And other paraphernalia. Flags are seen everywhere, as are flag symbols on clothing and in public display. This is MAGA to a T. Point number 1. So I'm not going to ask you to agree with me on anything. Can you what?
Okay, fine. Continue.
Okay. So I didn't
want to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
That's fine. All I want to acknowledge is that point number 1 of fascism is being done by the Trump administration. Specifically, it's being done by the MAGA movement. They are ultra nationalistic. They use patriotic mottos, make America great again, keep America great. They use symbols, slogans, songs. This is heavily done by the Trump administration. MAGA specifically. Point 2, disdain for the recognition of human rights. Because of fear of enemies and the need for security, the people in fascist regimes are persuaded that human rights can be ignored in certain cases because of need. This is directly happening with the Trump administration. This goes into CCOT. Trump administration doesn't care about human rights. Alligator Alcatraz, CCOT, all of these places where they're violating human rights, right? Because they think it's more important to get rid of immigrants, an enemy that they've labeled of the state. It's more important to get rid of these people than to make sure that these people's human rights are not violated. They were found in violation by the Supreme Court to be violating the rights of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, directly violating his civil rights and liberties, right? The Supreme Court said this is illegal. That's what you are doing is illegal. They don't care. They continue to do it anyway. So point number 2, absolutely happening. We can look at it when Trump and MAGA are trying to force homeless people into camps. They're trying to force them into camps or send them to prison. That is going against their human rights. Forcibly removing somebody and pushing them into a camp, whether you claim the camp is helpful or not, that's going against their human rights. So I'd say number 2, they're absolutely meeting point number 2. So that's 2 of 14. They are absolutely meeting. Point number 3, identification of enemies/scapegoats as a unifying cause. This is the exact way they engage against immigration and the exact way they engage against trans people. And now it's the full way they are engaging against the left. Donald Trump says the left is the enemy. Laura Loomer, the left is the enemy. Nancy Mace, it's the left. Tim Miller, we won't even get into the fucking crackpot shit he's been saying. These are all ways that they are identifying an enemy. And instead of saying, hey, American people, let's focus on the things that America has wrong with it and try to fix these issues for you that are systemic, that are absolutely bred from us as the wealthy class taking all your money. But no, let's just be vague and say it's the left. So now we can say anybody on the left. They're literally trying to make people labeled as terrorists for supporting trans people. Specifically in the documentation that they're trying to push through the FBI, it would label anyone that thinks that an organization or an entity is harming trans people. The person that thinks that the harm is being done would be labeled a terrorist. This number 3, they are absolutely doing it. Absolutely engaging in number 3. Number 4, supremacy of the military. Okay. Now this one, you could make probably an argument that they're not doing. Number 4 is even when there are widespread domestic problems, the military is given a disproportionate amount of government funding and the domestic agenda is neglected. And now, while it might not be the military, I think they are militarizing police. ICE has been heavily militarized. The National Guard, in fact, they are doing this, and that's why the National Guard is being sent into cities like Chicago, like DC, like California, even at the express denial of the people who are supposed to be making that decision. The Trump administration lost the lawsuit. The Supreme Court sided with California that the Trump administration did not have the authority to federalize the National Guard into California, and they did it anyway. This, again, supremacy of the military. So point number 4, absolutely doing. Okay, so 4 of the 14 tenets of fascism, I would argue the Trump administration completely engaging in. Now, I'm not telling you again to tell me whether or not they are. I'm just pointing out that they are doing it. Number 5, rampant sexism. The government of fascist nations tend to be almost exclusively male-dominated, which this government is. There's hardly any women in the government. Under fascist regimes, traditional gender roles are made more rigid. Opposition to abortion is high, as is homophobia and anti-gay legislation and national policy. 100% they're doing this shit. Abortion rights were stripped away because Donald Trump packed the Supreme Court. We see it when it comes to the fact that they're so focused on the nuclear family. They want women back in the home. They don't think women should be the ones in the workforce. They think they should be at the home. We can see this from Charlie Kirk, again, TPUSA, whose whole goal is to push people towards the right, specifically MAGA, told women, girls at college campuses, he told girls in high school that they should only be going to college to find husbands. Point number 5, they're absolutely doing as well. The homophobia is there. The anti-gay legislation. There has been, as of right now, I don't even know how many right now. As of right now, I think it's 500 plus anti-gay legislation have been written this year. Anti-LGBTQ legislation. So very clearly they're doing number 5. Number 6, controlled mass media. Sometimes the media is directly controlled by the government, but in other cases, the media is indirectly controlled by government regulations or sympathetic media spokespersons and executives. Censorship, especially in wartime, is very common. We've already seen this. We've already seen this with Brendan Carr, the head of the FCC, telling ABC if they didn't punish Jimmy Kimmel, they would crack down on ABC. This is the government quite literally trying to control media. Then we see it in J.D. Vance. When J.D. Vance is hosting Charlie Kirk's show after he passes, that is state-run media. Donald Trump has said, and I quote, a paraphrase, but he said that if you are on TV and you say anti-MAGA things or you disagree with him, you should be taken off the air. It should be against regulations. We see this when we look at the fact that the Pentagon, under Pete Hegseth, said that any independent reporting has to only be approved government reports. You cannot say anything or you will lose your media credentials and you can no longer come and report on the Pentagon if you say something we did not approve. This is state-controlled media. Absolutely. So that's 6. So the Trump administration is doing 6 of the 14 tenets of fascism. So they're almost at least at half. Next up, we're going to look at point number 7, which is obsession with national security. Fear is used as a motivational tool by the government over the masses. Now, you could make an argument, maybe they aren't doing this. I would claim that they are when we look at, again, the federalization of the National Guard. When we look at the fact that they're trying to make out Donald Trump, yes, thank you. Donald Trump is sitting over here constantly going, look at all the crime. There's all this crime. It's happening in Chicago. Chicago's got all this crime. Even though when we look at the actual numbers, crime rates have been steadily on the decline since the 90s, save for 2 major spikes, the 2008 financial crisis and COVID, which both financial crises lead to an increase in crime. We kind of just know this when we look at like basic understanding of like how crime affects. But it doesn't matter because they're painting the picture that crime is. Donald Trump came on and said, hey, we put the National Guard in D.C. for 2 weeks, and it was the first time in D.C. history no murders have happened. False. It's not the first time that's ever happened. And false again that no murders happened during that time. I'm pretty sure there was like a couple murders that happened. They just hadn't been reported yet. So this also incorrect. So I would say if you want to give them 7, you could make the argument they're not engaging in. Sure. I won't hard sell you on that. Number 8. Religion and government are intertwined. Governments in fascist nations tend to use the most common religion in the nation, Christianity, as a tool to manipulate public opinion. Religious rhetoric and terminology is common from government leaders. See Tim Miller, his entire speech at Kirk's memorial reads like religious psychosis. His entire speech, their entire thing is about pushing Christian nationalism. And we know this to be the case because Tim Miller and Brendan Carr helped write fucking Project 2025, and the whole thing they talk about in Project 2025 is moving back to a religious nation. They want America to be a Christian nation. They want America to abide by their ideals of Christianity, not the ideals of Christianity, mind you, because they've never fucking read Matthew 25. They've never opened the sheep and the goats. They're not trying to abide by those. They're trying to abide by their rules of Christianity. So I would say number 8, absolutely happening. So as of this moment, at least half of the 14 tenets of fascism are being engaged in by the Trump administration. At least half of them. Whether you agree with me or not, I think I've been pretty straightforward in giving you direct examples of them doing this. Point number 9. Corporate power is protected. The industrial and business aristocracy of a fascist nation often are the ones who put the government leaders into power. See fucking Elon Musk. Donald Trump would have never won the election without Musk and Twitter. It literally could not have happened. It's already been shown that Musk went on a concrete misinformation campaign on Twitter, employing bots, thousands of them, to post, to share made up stories. These internal documents have been a whistleblower came out from X that said they did that. But even if we want to say, well, maybe not Musk, look at the fact that at Trump's inauguration, most of the people sitting next to him were the most wealthy men in the fucking planet, most of whom are like heavy deep into AI. If you want to look at corporate powers protected, look at Peter Thiel, look at Curtis Yarvin. Look at the fact that these two men, who are two of the richest men on the fucking planet, who have quite literally said time and time again, over and over, that democracy needs to end. They've said that America should be like a corporation with a CEO sitting at the head who does not get voted in, by the way. The CEO who just gets placed into power and has that power. They've said that we need to end elections. They've said all of this shit, like in podcasts, out in public, on all of this shit. Right? These two, the only reason JD Vance is even his running mate is because Peter Thiel brought JD Vance to Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago after JD Vance had called Trump Hitler and said, hey, Donald, meet JD Vance. He should be your running mate. Like, this is number 9. It's corporate power. They want to consolidate power for corporations. This is why the FTC has lost a bunch of power it's had. This is why the Consumer Protections Bureau has lost power that it's had. The Consumer Protection Bureau, by the way, the only government agency that was putting money back into the pockets of Americans, stripped of power so that we couldn't sue corporations anymore. So that, well, not that we couldn't sue, but we couldn't sue them and have the Bureau helping us with those lawsuits so we could get our money back. So 9, definitely doing. So at most, they're doing 8 of the 14 so far. We could say maybe they're not doing 1, but they're doing 8 of 14. So at least right now it's 8-1. 10. Labor power is suppressed because the organizing power of labor is the only real threat to fascist government. Labor unions are either eliminated entirely or severely suppressed. They've been doing this for fucking ever. Look at just the way Jeff Bezos, by the way, a massive supporter of Donald Trump, look at how Amazon has suppressed their unions at Amazon. We all know Amazon's a shitty company to work for. We all know that they suppress you. Like, this is all the time. Project 2025 has stipulations in it for how we can get rid of union power. This isn't even remotely close, right? So I'm going to say definitely doing 10. So that's what, 9 of the 14 that they're doing? At least 100%. 11, disdain for intellectuals in the arts. Donald Trump literally took over the Kennedy Center, dropped the person who was in charge. Now, yes, a president can do this, but he dropped the person in charge because he didn't like the fucking shit they were making. I would also argue that suppression of the arts, right, and disdain for intellectuals comes into veins in a lot of different places. This is why fucking Donald Trump never went on a hard-hitting fucking broadcasters thing when he was doing interviews. He would go to fucking Aiden Ross and Joe Rogan and all of these other people who are not intellectual people. They're fucking podcasters. And this is part of, by the way, Peter Yarvin and Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin's plans is to hook the masses with podcast bros. They've admitted to this. They've done all of this. It's happened over and fucking over and over and over and over again. You can see how they demolish anything that is not a joke they believe should be happening. It's the way they fucking did it with Jimmy Kimmel. He made a joke that Trump didn't like. Look at how Trump, every fucking SNL bit that came up in, he would show up on Twitter. I don't know what the fuck the man was doing up at 3 a.m. every morning, probably shitting out the fucking massive amounts of double quarter pounders he eats. But like on Twitter, complaining about SNL. They want to make it so that anytime there's a gay person in any piece of media, oh, this isn't real art, this is blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to say they're definitely doing 11. 12, obsession with crime and punishment. We both know I don't even have to go into that based on the stuff we've already said. We know we don't have to. Now, remember, they only care about crime and punishment when it's for the people they don't like. Because, again, Donald Trump absolutely has evidence that he had 7 co-conspirators who helped him try to overturn the election. They don't care. They don't care that Donald Trump himself was fucking That Donald Trump himself has 34 fucking felonies. They don't give a shit about any of that. But anytime there's they went on this tirade about Kilmar Abrego Garcia being a criminal with zero evidence and no court saying that he was. The only person saying he was Kristi Noem, but she presented none of that fucking evidence to the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court said, why shouldn't we keep him in the country? She said, because we don't want him here, basically. Actually, her exact reasoning per the Supreme Court ruling was that because he was already gone, it was too hard to get him back. That was the exact reasoning. And the Supreme Court would have taken, he was a criminal. We have evidence of him committing a crime, except they had none. So I'm saying 12, definitely. So at the very least, 11 of 12 so far. There are 2 more. One is rampant cronyism and corruption. You and I would hope, are in the exact same vein of cronyism. Our government is controlled and run by billionaires. It is Donald Trump barely makes decisions. Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Curtis Yarvin, Mark Zuckerberg, fucking how many others we need to list. They are the ones engaging in this. Not just MAGA, by the way. There are billionaire Democrats. I think it's the daughter of Steve Jobs, who claims to be a Democrat, who is helping fund Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin's fucking nonsense shit, right? Because the cronyism is separate of party lines. They don't actually give a shit, Democrat or Republican. They just care wealthy. So they are definitely engaging in number 12. Not even close. And then 14 is fraudulent elections. Sometimes elections in fascist nations are a complete sham. Other times elections are manipulated by smear campaigns against or even assassination of opposition candidates, use of legislation to control voting numbers or political district boundaries, and manipulation of the media. Fascist nations also typically use their jurisdiction to manipulate or control elections. You can believe all you want that when it comes to fucking Donald Trump and the 2020 election, that it was stolen from him. But there has been zero credible evidence. Nothing was presented to courts. Rudy Giuliani, his personal lawyer, said that they should not be believed about this. When taken to court, he said, well, yeah, no, we don't have any actual proof. We just want you to look into it. There was no proof. Even when specific evidence had been given to show the opposite, Donald Trump went on a campaign to say, no, look at what you did. And then when an election happened, and that election was being certified, Donald Trump engaged in a conspiracy with 7 co-conspirators, 7, to make it so that fake electors would be sent to Mike Pence. Mike Pence has admitted to this. The electors have admitted to this. Giuliani was caught doing this, Giuliani was one of the co-conspirators, sent to Mike Pence, told Mike Pence, certify this. Not the actual electors that people voted for. Certify what I'm sending you. This is Donald Trump willfully trying to engage in a fraudulent election. He didn't get caught that time because Mike Pence had a fucking spine. You think anybody in this? JD Vance doesn't have a goddamn spine. And now, not only are they trying to redistrict, Texas is trying to redistrict to get rid of Democratic seats, and people will fucking say constantly and go, oh, but Texas, why? But California's doing the same thing. No, California's rules are they can redistrict if they hold a vote and the vote says we can now redistrict. So that's what California did. They said, we're going to hold a vote. And if that vote passes, then we can redistrict. Texas said, we're just going to redistrict. They are absolutely engaging in 14. We see it in them trying to pass voting legislation with voter ID, even though even up to the Supreme Court level, voter ID policies have been shown to negatively disparage low-income houses and low-income individuals and people who are not able to adequately access this ID. So we've seen this. We've seen them engage in manipulation. Again, look at the whistleblower shit that came out of Twitter with Elon Musk. We've seen all of this. So on its face, if we want to be charitable, the Donald Trump administration is absolutely engaging in 13 of the 14 characteristics of fascism. Now, I'm not going to ask you, or I'm not going to expect you, Kirk, to answer me in a way that you agree. But the question that I pose is if an administration is committing 13 of the 14 tenets of fascism, is this not a fascist administration?
Out of the 14, I mean, yeah, you make a compelling argument. I don't think we have the time. I could make the argument for the Biden administration and on the flip side. So if this one's fascist and it meets 13 of the 14 qualifiers, then I could make the same argument that the previous administration had either the same number of qualifiers or maybe one or two less or one more. And then the rhetoric that since it's a fascist, dictatorship, then it should be met with violence. And then the uprising from the left side of the field is, justified, and the killing and murder of people in order to overthrow this fascist regime, because you can't peacefully coexist with fascists, and then labeling people that they do not agree with as fascists as an excuse to politically silence them or physically silence them is the argument I would make.
Yeah, I'm going to say you absolutely
That
can.
it's very dangerous.
I won't deny that the Biden administration absolutely engaged in some of this, because I think America just at its core is fascist, right? So I won't deny this, but I think the whether they did or don't, you still have to admit that the Donald Trump administration has engaged in bare minimum 13 of the 14 characteristics of fascism. Cut everything else. So let's say fascists don't deserve violence. Let's say we should peacefully protest, and that's how we should all do anything. Do you acknowledge that of these 14 tenets put forth by PhD studied fascist historians who have studied people like Mussolini, Hitler,
I pulled up the same thing you pulled up. Yeah.
Oh, the Lawrence Britt one. Okay, cool. Would you agree that the Donald Trump administration is engaging in bare minimum 13 of these 14 characteristics?
I don't agree with you on some of them. I do agree with you on a few of them. The ones that you clearly pointed out, like you hope that I agree with. I do agree with, but I didn't argue with you. I was letting you speak because you seem very impassioned about it, and I didn't want to interrupt you. But I could argue against them. I could argue against that one side has that qualifier just as much as the other side has that qualifier. So then that would make everybody, like you said, the America fascist. So whether you fall into the right camp or the left camp, we're all fascists. I think it's too broad. I think the 14 qualifiers could fall under so many different purviews in our nation as people, as party lines. Just it's not as set in stone. It's not as like cut and dry. Like I could argue for number one, I could argue the same thing for the left, for the Democrats. I could argue the same thing for number two. I could, like, for the left and the Democrats. Like some of them I can't, like I'm not going to argue the supremacy, like or not that one. What was the other one? Like I can understand that, yeah, they fall under the purview of number 8, but I could also argue that an ideology doesn't necessarily have to be religious for it to be something that basically the government uses the rhetoric of that ideology terminology in order to sway the populace to get what they want out of it. I could say the same thing for the left-wing ideology when it comes to sex, gender, when it comes to what they would call civil rights, when it comes to people of color. Like there's an ideology there, and that could be argued as a religion in of itself. Like if you don't believe that, then you're not part of that religion of person. I could argue that, yeah, I mean, the corporate power protected. There's obviously like corporate greed in America. There's obviously like the people that have the most money influence the most. That's kind of a given. And is that a part of capitalism? Yeah, that's part of capitalism. And we are a capitalist society. We're a free market society. That just comes in part of it. The labor power is suppressed. I mean, 1 in 10 people in this country are part of a labor union, so I don't necessarily see them as being suppressed. And labor unions have an immense amount of power, especially in the positions that they hold. Are they all over the place? No, we don't have like an entire unionized state where everybody's in a union, in a labor party. Like, would that be great? Yeah, that would be great. There'd probably be better protections for the labor power. There'd probably be better avenues for getting like healthcare and the I guess the perks, the benefits of being part of the labor party, being part of the labor class. Like there'd probably be higher wage increases, and people would probably be able to live off of more, and they'd have more to live with. Like, the disdain for intellectual and art, I could say the same thing for the left. Their disdain for certain, like, art. I know the art side of the world is more left-leaning. I'm an artist myself. I enjoy drawing. I enjoy painting. I'm good at it. It's a hobby of mine. But I also understand that the people on the left, like, they will have a particular disdain for certain meme culture, for certain jokes, for certain, comedians, people of interest, people that hold, power in entertainment, like the entertainers we have in the industry. And they have been silenced and they've been repressed, which would fall in line with control of mass media. I mean, the Biden administration basically got YouTube to censor people that had opposing political beliefs. They spewed misinformation. Well, not necessarily misinformation, but they were getting YouTube to delete people's accounts when they were talking about COVID. And I mean, these are just your Joe Schmoes. These aren't like political pundits or anything. These are just, your podcast bros, like people that might be like, like we said, like they're just the people in the world that we don't necessarily care if they make these edgy jokes or not. I could say the same thing. They tried to suppress ideas. They tried to suppress, they tried to censor people and saying that they were just in doing so. Like, there's an argument that can be made that side practices in the same amount. So I'm saying, as myself, I believe that as this model to go off of, then everybody would be a fascist. And so I don't think it's concrete enough. I don't think it's enough to go off of. And if you want to start labeling people as fascists, then like there's an underlining meaning to that. And it gives people the excuse to perform violently. And even people on the right, like, tried to call people in the left when they were holding political power, when they had the majority, when they were, when POTUS was, a Democrat, they were like, this is fascist, this is fascist, this is fascist. And I don't think they should be doing that either. I don't think they should be, because the idea you get in your head when you say someone's a fascist is, we need to kill them, we need to get rid of them, we need to overthrow them. And instead of putting the policies in place and things like that, like, I can make the same argument for both sides. I don't think it's a good table to go off, if it's a good rule set to be like, these meet the 14 qualifiers to be a fascist country or a fascist government or a fascist regime. They're both wrong. And I think it's too broad. And if you want to narrow it down, I'm all for that. We can narrow it down and find some different qualifiers or more specific qualifiers. But in this instance, I could make the same argument, and I don't think it's necessarily like healthy for the normal people, the 90% in the country, to constantly be pointing blame and be like, that person over there is a fascist, that person over there is a Nazi, and just point the finger back and forth, because then it leads to like violence and it leads to this rhetoric. Like I remember in the Summer of Love, like they were telling people, basically people on the right were telling people on the left, like, you guys need to tone down the rhetoric. You guys need to stop glorifying people violently protesting, violently rioting in the streets. And the people on the left were saying, oh, they're just, they're getting their frustrations out. Like, they're completely, right to do so. They can be violent. They can light cars on fire, destroy places of business, like kill people, like random people, that because it's violent rampancy, like running wild. And they were like, you need to tone down the rhetoric. And they're like, oh no, like, they're just like, it's okay. Like, no, we don't need to tone it down. Like, just, they're peacefully protesting. They're just peacefully protesting, when everybody could see that was not the case. There were some peaceful protests, majority peaceful protests. And then there were those that were riots, and they still were like, oh, that falls under the purview of peaceful protests. You're obfuscating the truth. You're not being honest with the people. And that's kind of the thing I'm getting at, is like, both sides are being hypocrites. Both sides can be hypocrites. Like, it's not just one side's being a hypocrite and the other side's not being a hypocrite. They're both fucking being hypocrites. And it's pissing me off that when someone's like, you're being a hypocrite, and then I say, no, you're being a hypocrite, they're like, no, I can't be. That's not me. Like, you called me a fascist. You called me a Nazi. I'm sorry. I don't see us agreeing here. I just need to
reject. I just need to reject, because you most of what you're talking about isn't an administration. It's a people, and the people aren't the administration. Biden didn't wield the FCC to try to coerce people. And while Google says that the Biden administration reached out to them, to try to get them to take COVID misinformation off the platform that absolutely was misinformation. And I do think the government has a duty when it comes to misinformation that affects public health to make sure that is moderated in public forums. There's been no determination of coercion from the government or anything like that. And because of a Supreme Court decision, government bodies, including the Trump administration, absolutely have the power to reach out to platforms about content moderation. This was in, oh my God, I don't remember which Supreme Court decision this was. This was Murphy v. Missouri. We've been going for like 80 minutes, so I do need to end the call.
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate your time, Jovan.
No problem. Longest call confirmed? Jesus Christ. Holy shit. Anyway, let me just say thank you to everybody that sent a tip and stuff during that one. Because that was a very long call. Let me see here. Amelia, thank you for the Cash App. Said, for holy shit, you're on fire. This is so amazing. Yeah, I just sort of... I locked in and was just sort of like... Super chat. Mrs. Pickles said, Kirk is spot on, white supremacist that doesn't want to be held accountable for his fascist complacency. I might agree. Peril Eilish said the head of education in Oklahoma resigned to be the CEO of a grassroots organization that's goal is to end the teachers' unions. Yep. Balthazar said Jovan's bigotry of low expectations showing again. I believe the Kamala team could have found a way to lose even without Musk. That's crazy. And Twitter helping Trump. They were so lost on what to do after silencing Walls. And this from someone who voted for her and hoped she'd win, from stopping Walls, calling the weirdos weird, to campaigning with Liz, full of so many unfortunate errors. Sure, but I think without Twitter, it would I think the harm Twitter did in the misinformation campaign and the bot spams, I think that harm can't be undercut. Like, it was bad. Like, it was so bad. And somebody said I waited over 2 hours to speak, got dropped 3 times. I don't know what your number is. They don't save and call in studio, so I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Whew. That was a long one. That's going to be a crazy video. I think at the end of the day, I was able to show there was a massive amount of hypocrisy from the right, and he wasn't able to show the massive amount of hypocrisy from the left. Zoe, thank you for the super chat. Said, love you, Jovan. Love you too. Okay, I think it's time I now go. So why can't I call you? The lines are closed. You see the big red thing that says lines closed? That's why. Thanks for watching the stream today. Next time you'll see me is Sunday for the weekly dump. We're going to be doing like a call-in special stream. So come with your questions and debates to the dump. We have a couple of topics we're going to talk about news-wise, but then it'll mostly be discussions and stuff for the dump this weekend. So join us for the weekly dump. It should be 1 p.m. hopefully it's 1 p.m. on Sunday. We'll let you know if it goes a little past. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching stream today. Shout out to YouTube. You guys be easy, be breezy, be beautiful, be cover girl. And shout out to Twitch. Twitch, thank you for watching stream today. Oops. Hold on. I wasn't ready for that.